Hello everyone, and welcome to our quiz today on the general programming concepts. We would request you to bear with us as we wait a few minutes for people to join the stream. Feel free to introduce yourself in the comment section while we wait. Also, to take part in the quiz, it is highly recommended to use your mobile phone to visit the website www.menti.com and use the code 61173331. The code is visible on the live stream. You can use a different tab on your browser to take part in the quiz, but a live stream will be broadcasting the results as soon as the participants give the answers. So it is beneficial to have both screens visible at the same time. Once you open the link and input the code, wait for the quiz to start and be ready to answer the questions. The quicker you answer, the more points you get. So think fast and click faster. We're just going to wait for a few more minutes to let other people join. Okay, so while we wait for other people to join, allow me to introduce our viewers to the world of programming. The software development has grown much and shown more impact on our day-to-day life. All the knowledge on development comes from coding and programming. So we bring you some tips to learn and get experience in coding without going through any kind of hardship. First, we shall begin and understand what the exact meaning of coding is, followed by what is the meaning of programming. Then we get in touch with learning the differences between coding and programming. After that, we shall discuss some tips for learning these skills. So let's get started with what coding is. The computer doesn't understand the human language, so we use some languages that require coding to communicate with the computer. It is a way of passing and translating the instructions to communicate with our systems. This is about coding, but what about programming? Programming is the process of designing and building executable programs to work on specific tasks that involve the analysis, generation, and implementation of algorithms. Many of the applications and development involves and uses programming from the top to the end. This is all about programming. Now let's get started by learning some differences between coding and programming. Coding is a part of programming which is used to help in converting the language into binary codes, which can then be used to communicate with the computer. Whereas programming is a process that works on creating specific tasks according to the standard set. The next difference is that coding is the basic step in implementing the software, whereas programming deals with implementation depth and complex problems. Coding works with simple projects that can be finished in a shorter period, whereas programming deals with big projects and processes complete analysis to implement these projects. So these are some fundamental differences between coding and programming. Now let's look at some of the best tips for learning the art of coding. The first tip that we have for you is practice. Practice is the best way to learn coding and programming. It takes a lot of time to develop it into a habit, but helps gain more knowledge along the way. When you apply for a software job, there will most likely be a technical round where they ask you to write snippets of codes. Practicing helps to clear those rounds and get an opportunity to clear them quite quickly. It also improves the ability to identify the mistake by yourself. Our next tip is consistency in reading. The main problem in learning is consistency. While we work in our free time, it does not help much because of the power of our brain. Working daily helps to gain and boost our knowledge, which then further helps us to think logically and improve our skills. So we have to work every day to learn how to program. The next step of the session is deep learning. When you get deeply involved in the subject, you are learning. It provides a way to gain more knowledge and attention to the subject. The deeper effort we put, the more we get back. It also helps us in improving our thinking skills. It boosts the performance while carrying out the simplest of tasks. the next step of the doc is jumping directly. If you are going to learn something, you must start from the beginning. It helps to predict and provide a complete understanding of the upcoming topics in the subject. If you are learning coding or programming, you better start from the basics. It helps you grab the subject's attention and improve your coding and programming knowledge. Moving forward, the next topic we have is debugging. Making mistakes in code and programming is very common. There are key producers of learning, so it is good to use debugging to improve your coding and programming skills. If you are good at debugging, you will learn quite quickly without any hassle. Another resource that we have in our disposal is online resources. One of the accessible sources of learning coding and programming are multiple websites and blogs. There are plenty of online resources like Simplilearn that provide and help a lot in learning a new skill. They also offer free courses and videos with the most trending concepts on the market. And most importantly, the final tip of the session is representation. Representing the concept you learn plays a crucial part in learning. It may help get more ideas and think more profoundly about the subject. Teaching to someone, discussing, and sharing will help gain more command over coding and programming. So it's a good idea to represent everything that you have learned. So far, that's all we need to know about the tips on coding and programming. We can start with a quiz. Just a reminder, to join the quiz, please visit the website www.menti.com and use the code 61173331 to participate. Like I mentioned before, do try to join the quiz using the mobile phone to keep your eyes on the results of the quiz as it progresses on the live stream. This will help you stay in touch with the standings since the top 3 winners will receive Amazon vouchers. Faster answers equal higher points, so fire away as soon as you have a hunch. We're going to wait for a couple of more people to join the quiz before we start. Just a reminder guys, it is recommended to join using a mobile phone, although you can join using your laptop browser or a different tab as well. Kulsham, the top 3 scorers will be eligible for the prizes. So if you answer quickly, you can be a part of the top 3 winners who will receive Amazon vouchers from our end. So make sure to answer fast. Just going to wait for 1 more minute. The quiz will have 30 questions in total. So in total, you can expect around 40-45 minutes. Okay, so it seems we have enough people to start the quiz for now. Okay, let's move on to our first question. Remember guys, faster answers means faster points. Question 1 is, which of the following components in Java is responsible for complete code debugging, compilation, and execution? Is it the option A, JRE, Is it option B, JDK? Is it C, JVM? Or D, JIT? Please read the question carefully and check which particular programming language we are referring to. Which of the following components in Java is responsible for complete end-to-end execution of a program? Okay, times are up. It seems majority of the people had answered JVM, but the correct answer is JDK. Okay, so before deciding on the answer, let's learn about each of these terms that we have mentioned right now. The JRE is abbreviated as the Java Runtime Environment. It creates the executable Java application and provides the necessary program execution environment for the code. JVM is abbreviated as Java Virtual Machine. It enables a computer to run Java programs and the programs written in other languages compiled to Java bytecode. JDK is known as the Java Development Kit. It is the combined Java runtime environment and Java Virtual Machine package. So both JVM and JRE are needed to execute a program in Java. That's why the correct answer is JDK. The last of which is JIT, which nobody answered, is known as the just-in-time compiler. It is an inventory management method in which goods are received from suppliers only as they are needed. Now remember guys, like we told you, the faster you answer the questions, the higher points you will get. Okay, it seems 2 people answered very quickly and many of them are not able to. So let's move on and see how the leaderboard changes with the next set of questions. Moving on to question number 2. Which set class in Java should be most popular in a multi-threading environment considering performance constraints? Is the option A hash set? Is the B concurrent skip list set? Is it C linked hash set or copy on write array set? Go through the options very carefully considering there is a bit of alliteration involved. Five more seconds. Okay, the answers are pretty distributed in this one, but the correct answer is actually option B, which is concurrent skip list set. So the concurrent skip list class allows safe execution of insertion, removal, and access operations on set concurrently by multiple threads. So in other words, only one thread can access the set at a time, which degrades the performance. Concurrent skip list set implements serialized, clonable, iterable, collection, navigable set, and sorted set interfaces. It does not allow null elements because null arguments return values which cannot be reliably distinguished. Its implementation provides an average log n time cost for containing, adding, and removing operations and their variants, and also it is thread safe. It should be preferred over implementing the set interface when concurrent modification of the set is required. Okay, we see not a lot of people were able to answer, which propels Skywalker to first position and Akshay to second. Okay, we're going to see some new people on the leaderboard in the first few set of questions. Okay, moving on to question number 3. Which of the following collections in Java will allow the removal of elements from a collection? Is it option A, enum? Is it option B, iterator? Is it C, list? Or D, none of the above? Which of them will allow the removal of elements from a collection? I'm guessing a lot of people will be missing a common term in Java which is not in the options. Okay, everyone has voted and pretty equal distribution for the answers again, but the correct answer is list, not enum, iterator, but list. The answer is the list because all of the above listed options or collections are immutable. The enum or enumerators in Java are tightly immutable. So it makes sense that the enum must return a clone of the array returned by the values method each time the method is called to ensure that the array is associated with the enum has not been changed for added safety. So next are the iterators. The output or the collection of elements retired from a method during multi-threading is strongly immutable because of the iterators. Hence there is no chance here as well. So lastly, the list array list collection is mutable that allows for the addition or removal of elements. So just not removal, even the addition of elements is possible. Okay, the top two scorers were not able to answer it correctly. So we have a new leader on the top. Okay, let's move on to question number 4. It is a long quiz, guys, so make sure take every chance you do get. Question 4. Which of these in Java is not an access modifier? Is it A, private, B, void, C, public, or D, protected? I'd just like to reiterate, guys, if you want to join the quiz, please go to www.menti.com and use the code 61173331 to take part. Any answers submitted in the YouTube comments will not be able to take part. 10 more seconds. Which of the following in Java is not an access modifier? Okay, we see majority of the people were able to answer this correctly, and the answer is void. The void might seem like a default access modifier, but it is not. We have public, private, and protected access modifiers. If no access modifier is declared, then by default, Java will consider public access modifier to be used. Now this will differ from language to language, but as far as Java is concerned, void is not an access modifier, irrespective of if you provide one in the code or not. Okay, so a lot of people in the lower end of the leaderboard have moved up, and the leader, Yeeznuts, has already created a healthy lead at the first position. Okay, so let's move on to question 5. What will be the output of the following code segment? You have 1 minute to answer. Guys, just to be sure, this is not a quiz regarding any particular programming language. So this is just users programming logic, OOPS concepts, and all those things. So irrespective of you work with Java or Python or C++, you can take part in this quiz. And remember, guys, the top 3 winners get Amazon vouchers. So give it a try. It's worth a shot. 20 more seconds. I see 19 people have already answered, which leaves out a couple of people who have not yet decided on the output. Okay, so 9 people were able to give the correct answer, which is 30. Okay, now most of you must have thought the answer would be 25, but if we recall our programming fundamentals, we'll come across the precedency table. So the precedency table will help us understand the priority of each mathematical and logical symbol that we use on our day-to-day programming. According to this precedency table, pre-increment has a higher priority than the multiplication operator. So the number 5 has pre-incremented to the number 6, and 6 multiplied by 5 results in 30. It was a bit confusing, but more or less it makes sense that a lot of people were able to answer correctly. Okay, so we do not see any change in the top 2 leaderboard, but we do see a healthy shuffle from 3 to 10. Okay, we're expecting some new names in these top 10 leaderboards. Let's see. Question number 6 is, WhatsApp concurrent model is implemented using which programming language? Is it A, Java? Is it B, Node.js? Is it C, Erlang? Or D, C? I'm expecting people are aware of all these programming languages. Five more seconds. Okay, a tie between Java and Erlang, with the correct answer being Erlang. See, WhatsApp, which has like billions of messages sent over its platform every day, has been built with the free BSD operating system and the Erlang programming language. Okay, only 2 people were able to give the correct answer. the top position in the leaderboard, and the 10th one. Okay, Anmol is slowly catching up at the 6th position. Okay, let's see if the next question will have a healthy number of correct answers this time. Question number 7 is predict the outcome of the following program in C. I'm assuming a lot of the people who have worked on C++ will be able to answer this question as well, considering how closely related they are. They have 45 seconds. As it's clear from the code, you have to find the output of the strlen function and the size of function. 5, 9, 720, 520, or 820 are your options. This is a little tricky question, I'll give you that. 5 more seconds. Okay, majority were able to answer correctly, which is 8 people answered. The options are A, which is 5 and 9. So the question might have been a little tricky, but it revolves around simple data structure oriented information. So we all know the terminating character in strings. So the length of the string is the count of characters up to a null character, which is often denoted by a \0. So the answer of the strlen method describes the length as 5, and the size of method reports the size of the array as 9. Might be able to see a shuffle. Yes, we do. We have a new name at the 2nd position, which is Nityaram. Welcome to the top 3, Nityaram. Let's see how long you can hold your position in the top of the leaderboard. Okay, let's move on to question number 8. Which of the following operator is used to extract pattern matching data from the database? Is it A, find? Is it B, select? Is it C, like? Or D, pattern? Start thinking the last time you recalled SQL. Just a couple of more people to answer. I can say 18 people have already answered this. Okay, 8 people were able to give the correct answer, which is option C, like. Okay, see, SQL is a very powerful data querying language. Most of the time you might extract the data according to your logic. But in a few scenarios, you might have to check if your required output matches a given pattern. For example, try selecting the cell or row where a color code is given. Now, color code can be PQRS in lowercase or PQRS in uppercase. So you can use the like operator designed exclusively for pattern matching in SQL in such scenarios. Also, like is case sensitive. As an alternative, you can always use I-like if you have the pattern in both the upper and the lower cases together. As expected, majority were able to answer correctly, which I think will push Nityaram down to 3rd, and Anmol was the fastest one to answer, getting the highest points for this question and moving up to the 2nd position. Okay, let's move on to question number 9. Python includes built-in which libraries? Is it A, CSS, B, JSON, 3, PHP, or 4, HTML? By the way, guys, I see a lot of new people have joined the YouTube stream. So I'd like to inform you that if you want to take part in the quiz, please go to www.menti.com and use the code 61173331 to take part. Any answers given in the YouTube comment section will not be counted. So please go through the URL and take part in the quiz. Okay, so time's up. And majority were not able to answer correctly. Only 4 people give the correct answer, which is PHP. Remember, guys, it was asked which libraries are included, not in which format code is written. So either way, PHP is the correct answer. PHP has web development features built directly into the core language. See, Python's add-on module provides Python's web development capabilities. Basic CGI capabilities are provided by the CGI module, which comes as a part of the Python standard library. That was a bit tricky. The wording was a bit tricky, but the question was easy. Okay, 3 people were able to answer correctly, and Murli is second position. Simba, even he gave the correct answer, and he was the fastest one to answer as well, which makes sense why he has joined the ninth position. Okay, 1/3 of the way, question 10. In SQL, on update cascade, ensures which of the following? Is it A, normalization, B, data integrity, C, materialized views, or D, all of the above? On update cascade ensures which of the following? Okay, time's up. 13 people answered all of the above, which is not correct. The correct answer is option B, which is data integrity. The cascade option in SQL is used along with the delete and update commands. The cascade is used only when you want your data to be uniform. For example, you might have created a parent table and a child table inheriting data from the parent. If you miss using cascade while creating the tables, then the actions performed on either of the tables will be reflected on the other one. Let us imagine your head office and your branch has the employee details. After a while, an employee resigns at your branch and you need to delete his records. If you did not use the delete cascade option, the head office would still have his record since the integrity between the tables is missing. So this is why the cascade option is used on SQL. Okay, only 3 people from the top 10 were able to answer correctly out of 23 people. Anmol is back in second position. Okay, let's move on to question number 11. Before that, let's take a quick reminder. If once the quiz ends, do not close your laptops or your phones. The top 3 scorers, it will mention if you are in first place, second place, or third place. Make sure to take your screenshot and send the screenshot to YouTube contest at simplilearn.net to receive your Amazon voucher. This is just a verification on our end so that we do not receive any spam emails. Hope you understand, and make sure the top 3 winners take a screenshot and send it to us. Okay, let's move on to question number 11. In C programming, if P equal to tilde symbol 1, then what is the value of P? Is it A1, B -2, C 5, or D -1? Okay, this is the fundamentals of C programming. Ten more seconds to give your answer. 20 people have already answered. Okay, 21. Okay. Just a couple of more people to give before we reveal the answer. Only 3 people were able to answer correctly, which is -2. See, to understand the reasoning behind this answer, we might have to go back to the bitwise operators in C programming. Look at the symbol carefully, the tilde symbol. The symbol defines the bitwise operation that is a complement of a given number. The ones complement operator, which is the tilde symbol, sometimes called the bitwise complement operator, yields a bitwise ones complement of its operand. Every bit that is 1 in the operand is 0 in the result. Conversely, every bit that is 0 in the operand is 1 in the result. So in the case of -2, the 1's complement of 1 is 1110, which is equivalent to the 2's complement of 2, that is -2. Ranjit has answered this question the fastest, pushing him to number 4 on the leaderboard. Okay, let's move on to question number 12. This was a little confusing, I get it. In Python, what is the output for the following code? Saran, if you haven't joined the quiz, go to the URL of www.menti.com and use the code mentioned on the screen to participate in the quiz. Answers given on the YouTube comments chat cannot be calculated. Really sorry about that. So do join the quiz using the URL and the code. 10 more seconds. Okay, time's up. Majority were able to answer correctly. 8 people answered of type error. See, I guess the people who have answered, the 6 people, you expected it to be A. But when you observe closely, you have an alphabet J along with the number 1. The combination of 1J is considered an imaginary number. So when you include these numbers into the sort function, Python will not be able to compare the real numbers with the complex numbers, and therefore you will receive a type error as in this case. Okay, out of the 8 people, 6 of them were from the top 10 leaderboard. Come on guys, the people in the second half of the table should catch up in the second half. It's only halfway there. So we still have more than half the questions left. Let's see how the leaderboard changes. Okay, moving on to question number 13. In Python, which of the following statements is invalid if I'm using a set as follows? And you can see the picture. The options are A, minimum s, option B, sum of s, option 3, print s of 3, and 4 is max of s. 25 seconds to give your answer. In Python, which of the following statements is invalid? It can show an error, it can be an exception, whichever. One of these is invalid. Okay, not a lot of people answered this one. Okay. Okay, but those who answered, majority answered correctly, which is 8 people answered, which is option C, is print s of 3. So I guess you predicted all the statements were true for a moment, but when you read out the question again, you see we were all using a set. And in the set, we do not have indexing. So in the third option, we were trying to print a value stored in the set by accessing a specific index value. This statement will be considered invalid because, like you mentioned, there is no indexing while using a set. There might be a slight shuffle in the board. Okay, no. These nuts has still first position locked by a hairpin. Let's go to question number 40 and see if Anmol can catch up to the top. In the C programming language, which header file should be included to use dynamic memory allocation functions? Is it A, memory.h? Is it B, stdlib.h? Is it C, string.h? Or D, dos.h? 20 seconds. The quickly you answer, the more points you get. So even if you have a small hunch, go ahead with it. There are 30 questions. There are plenty of opportunities to take the lead. If you have a hunch, take it. Okay, so time is up. As expected, majority of people were able to answer correctly. The people who have used dynamic memory allocation, that the correct answer is stdlib.h. The standard library header file, or the stdlib.h, is the mandatory header file that is needed to incorporate the dynamic memory allocation functions like calloc function, malloc, realloc, and free in the C programming language. All 4 of these dynamic memory functions are not accessible by default, as they are used only in special scenarios that include dynamic programming paradigms. Pretty simple question, right? Okay, everyone was able to answer this question correctly in the top 10 leaderboard. Anmol being the fastest, again, down by a hairpin. Okay, let's see what happens in the next set. Moving on to question number 15 as we reach halfway of our quiz. What is the current version of PHP that is being used by Facebook? Is the option A, PHP 3.0? Is it B, HPHP? Is it option C, PHP 4.0? Or D, PHP 7.0? $15 more seconds. What is the current version of PHP that is being used by Facebook? I'm assuming you guys all use Facebook, or you all have migrated to Instagram by now. Okay, 22 people were able to answer before time was up. Only 2 people gave the correct answer, which is HPHP. See, as weird as it may sound, HPHP is not PHP, but a PHP used by Facebook. Yeah, Facebook is not using PHP by designing its own PHP called the hip hop or HPHPI, which is an advanced version of HPHP. Facebook PHP code is compiled by the hip hop virtual machines. It transforms code into highly optimized C++ and then uses G++ to compile it. Hip hop executes the source code in a semantically equivalent manner and sacrifices some rarely used features. Hip hop includes a code transformer, a reimplementation of PHP's runtime system, and a rewrite of many common PHP executions to take advantage of these performance optimizations. Two people answering this correctly. One of them was these nuts as he solidifies his position at the top spot. And he was the fastest to answer. Okay, let's move on to question number 16. We have reached halfway, guys. Question number 16 is, what is the most common reason to use inheritance? Is it option A, to use abstraction? Is it option B, to use interface? Is it to C, to use code security? Or D, to promote code reuse? By the way, while you answer these questions, if you are watching the YouTube stream, drop down your position in the chat box. It will be helpful to know who stands where. 10 more seconds to give the correct answer. As expected, a lot of people were able to answer this correctly, which is option D, to promote code reusability. The inheritance helps to reuse the same code and saves time. Every concept out of the 4 object-oriented programming concepts is built for a specific purpose. For example, abstract plays an important role in hiding the critical logic from the end user. Encapsulation binds the data with the respective methods. Polymorphism is used in scenarios that need method overriding based on the situation. Similarly, inheritance is employed to improvise development speed by reusing an existing code and inheriting the properties in the parent class. Majority were able to answer correctly. Only 3 people of the top 10 were not able to, which might pull them down the rankings. No, only Simba went down to number 10. The rest of them more or less had the same position. Okay, let's see how that shakes up. And question 17. Which of the SQL statements will permanently delete the data? Is it option A, delete? Is it option B, drop? Is it C, truncate? Or D, cascade? We have already covered cascade in one of the previous questions. So try to recall what we did learn. Do not go back on the video. Try to recall. Ten more seconds. Okay. 9 people answered the question correctly. Correct answer being truncate. See, of course, the delete and drop statements in SQL are equally capable of erasing data from a table, but we are looking to erase the data permanently. So this can be achieved by the truncate option only. In contrast, the other options are prone to recover the erased data. So it's a complete opposite of what we are aiming to do. There might be a small change in the leaderboard. Yeah, it is very small between the 6th and the 7th places, with Nityaram being the fastest person to answer question number 17. But let's see what happens with 18. In SQL keywords, dash is used along with wildcards. Is it option A, not in only? Is it option B, in and not in? Is it option C, in only? Or option D, like and I like only? I'm guessing a lot of people have forgotten the SQL standards based on how many people are giving the correct answers for the SQL questions. Let's see. 10 more seconds. But this time 22 people have answered rather quickly, so I'm guessing majority will be able to give the right option this time. Yeah, 12 people were answering the question correctly. See, most of the remaining operators also look like they can go along with wildcards, but let me remind you, wildcards are string oriented. A wildcard character is used to substitute one or more characters in a string. They are like used with the like operator. The like operator is used in a where clause to search for a specified pattern in a column. Since like and I like are used for pattern matching revolves around only string type data. I hope that's as clear as I can make it for you. I think we're going to see a drop in the leaderboard. And we did. Murali has slid down to fourth position, with Nityaram taking the third position. It seems answering the last question the fastest helped Nityaram move up in the rankings. Okay, question number 19. Which of the following SQL commands can sort the entire rows of the table? Is it A, sort by, B, order by, C, group by, or D, align by? Once again, even more SQL. 10 more seconds. Which of the following SQL commands can sort the entire rows of a table? Okay, yeah, majority were able to answer. 15 people answered order by, which is the right option. For those that have answered sort by and group by, as a quick solution, most of you might have conjured the option to be sort by. The reality is slightly different. The order by keyword sorts the results at an ascending or descending order. If you forget to inform SQL to order the table in descending order specifically, the order by keyboard sorts the records in ascending order by default. To sort it in descending order, you can just use the DESC keyboard with the order by keyboard. Okay, a lot of people not able to answer. Okay, Murli was the fastest one to answer, but he still is in fourth position by a hairpin, while the first two positions remain unaltered. Okay, let's move on to our final set of 10 questions, which is question number 20, which states in BFS or breadth first search graph traversal, which data structure is employed? Is it A, stack, B, array, C, queue, or D, linked list? In breadth first search graph traversal, which data structure is employed? Stack, array, queue, or linked list? People who have worked on Java and C++, this is your time to shine. Okay, we're done with the time. Just 8 people have answered Q, while 7 have confused with its stack. See, going by the book, stack is used in depth first search, not breadth first. Breadth first search algorithm traverses a graph in a breadth towards motion and uses a queue to remember the next vertex to start a search when a dead end occurs in any iteration. Now, this can be achieved if you have a first come first out type of data structure, and queue is the only one of that kind. So that's why we prefer to use a queue instead of a stack in breadth first search graph traversal. Stack is used for depth first. Just to reiterate. And there is virtually no change in the top 10 leaderboard. Okay, moving on to our third half of the quiz. Question number 21. Predict the outcome of the following snippet of code. This should be relatively easy for people who have used coding, if you have used arrays when writing programs. But let's see. The option A is 3, option B is 0, option C is 1, and option D is 2. 40 more seconds. Thirty more seconds. "21 people have answered 22. Okay. So I think like 3-4 people have not yet decided on the output. Okay. 3 more seconds. And we are done. The correct answer, majority were able to answer correctly, which is 1. See, the statement, the innermost bracket or the inner indirection evaluates to 1. And the value at index 1 for the outer indirection is 1. So the correct answer is option C, 1 again. Since majority were able to answer correctly, I'm guessing there should not be a lot of change in the leaderboard. Okay, just Hay is moving on from the second half of the table to the 9th position, 10th in the last question and 9th in this one. Let's see if we can use the last 8 positions to move all the way up to 1. Okay, question number 22. What is the latest Unix version? Is it Unix System 5, Unix version 7, UnixWare 1.1, or UnixWare 2.0? What is the latest Unix version? For people who dabble in a lot of Linux operating systems, this should be fairly standard for your domain of work. Okay. Yeah, majority were able to answer, which is Unix version 7, which is the latest version of the certificate standard, is Unix version 7, aligned with the single Unix specification version 4 of the 2018 edition. Who was the fastest to answer this question? Okay, someone not from the top of the leaderboard. Okay, no, Anmol was the fastest to give the correct answer this time. Okay, let's move on to question number 23. Which of the following type of classes allows only one object of it to be created? Is it A, virtual class? Is it B, abstract class? Is it C, singleton class? Or D, friend class? Got a very weird feeling about this because in the first 5 seconds, around 10 people gave the answer. So let's see how accurate that hunch was. 15 more seconds for the rest of the people to give their answers. Time's up, and almost everyone gave the correct answer, which is singleton class. See, some C++ programmers might have considered the option of D, which is friend class or the friend function, as a random guess, but the correct answer is singleton. This question was actually from Java, to be honest. The term friend class might have distracted many into C++. Singleton is a famous design pattern in Java. It is a design pattern that ensures that a class can have only one object. To create a singleton class, a class must implement the following properties, which is create a private constructor of the class to restrict object creation outside of the body. Everyone was able to give the correct answer this time. So there is no change in the leaderboard, and Nityaram could not move into second in spite of giving the answer the fastest. Okay, let's move on to question number 24. Which of the following is not a type of constructor? Is it A, a copy constructor? Is it B, friend constructor? C, default constructor? Or D, parameterized constructor? Guys, I would just like to remind you, the people who are occupying the first, second, and third position right now, do not close the window. Once the quiz ends, take a screenshot of your position where it clearly states that you have finished first, second, or third, and send it to us at youtubecontest@simplilearn.net to receive your vouchers. This is only for the top 3 winners. Okay, the 13 people were answered correctly, which is friend constructor. See, again in Java, we have come across the copy constructor, default, and parameterized constructor, but there is nothing called a friend constructor. That was a pretty easy one. Come on, guys. Okay, we might see a shuffle in the leaderboard this time. And we do. Finally, Anmol was able to catch up to Yeeznuts and has taken the first position with a handful of questions to go. Let's see if he can hold his own while we answer the final 6 questions of this quiz. Moving on to question number 25. How many instances of an abstract class can be created? You can see the options, which is either 1, 5, 13, or 0. You have a lot of trigger happy participants because on the moment the question arrives, I see at least 10-15 people just answer right away. There's a lot of trigger happy people in this quiz. How many instances of an abstract class can be created? 10 more seconds. Okay. 11 people gave the correct answer, which is 0, but I'm I'm very surprised that 7 people thought the answer would be 5, considering it's a random number. But it's an abstract class. I cannot create an instance of an abstract class because it does not have a complete implementation. The purpose of an abstract class is to function as a base for its subclasses. It acts like a template or an empty or partially empty structure, and you can extend it and build on it before you can use it. It does not have a complete structure. And why 0? Because abstract class is a class that is declared using the keyword abstract, but it may or may not include abstract methods. It cannot be instantized, but it can be subclassed. Both Anmol and Murli gave the question in the first second, gave the correct answer in the first second, and retained the first and third positions handsomely. Okay, last 5 questions. Moving on to question number 26. Which of the following is the first computer virus? Okay, a bit of cybersecurity creeping in now. Is it option A, Nimda? Is it B, Creeper? Is it C, Slayer? Or D, Tinba? So the first computer virus. Okay, I don't see a lot of people answering this right away. Good to know. Ten more seconds. Time is up. And 8 people gave the correct answer, which is Creeper, while majority of the people actually gave wrong, which is Nimda and Slayer. No one answered Timba, which is surprising. But yeah, the Creeper was the first computer virus, and it was completely harmless. It was not created to bring harm to people, but it did not take long for the idea of self-replicating software to turn to the dark side. Like a virus infects a human body by replicating versions of itself to pass it on to other hosts, a computer virus spreads by inserting its code and spreading to new computers via different networks. The idea of a computer virus was published in the essay of Theory of Self-Reproducing Automata by John von Neumann in 1949. Do give it a read since it's a very interesting publication. Still, the first replicating computer program was not written until 1971. The program was not actively malicious software as it caused no damage to data, the only effect being a message it output to the teletype reading, "I'm the creeper, catch me if you can," which is something similar that Anmol will be saying to people below him since he has given the correct answer immediately again and kept his first position. Okay, let's move on to question number 27. Which language is known for writing the highest number of most powerful and malicious viruses? Is it A, DLang? Is it B, NIM? Is it C programming language? Or is it D, Rust? This is a fairly standard programming language that is being used in the industry. 15 more seconds. Okay, not a lot of people answered this one, surprisingly. But the ones who did, majority were right. The correct answer is the C programming language. See, as surprising as it is, C is one of the oldest, most powerful, and frankly, one of the exotic programming languages that can either bring the dead malware back to life or recreate a new one. The other options are also the languages used to design and deploy viruses. Still, none of them outperformed C in this category, as most of the wild malicious software is written using the mother of programming languages. A big shout out to C, and another good reason you need strong fundamentals of C and subsequently C++. We see a small change in the 6th and 7th position between Simba and Ranjit, but overall there is little fluctuation on the leaderboard. Okay, final 3 questions. Question number 28, who is the publisher of the Ubuntu operating system? Is it A, IBM? Is it B, Microsoft? C, Canonical? Or D, Apple? Who is the publisher of the Ubuntu operating system? It is a Linux derivative. Canon. 5 more seconds. Okay, a lot of people have already answered. Okay, great. So, okay, 13 people answered correctly, which is Canonical. So for those unaware, Canonical is a British company that publishes and owns all the variants of the Linux operating and the Ubuntu operating system. My bad, it's an Ubuntu operating system. The members of the Canonical team lead aspects of Ubuntu such as the kernel, the default desktop, which is the Unity desktop, foundations, security, OpenStack, and Kubernetes. However, the governance of Ubuntu is somewhat independent of Canonical, with volunteer leaders from all around the world taking responsibility for many critical elements of the project. Okay, there might be a small change on the leaderboard. No, it is the same. Although Dinesh has taken his position on the 10th position by being the fastest one to answer question number 28. But we will move on to question number 29 now, which is which was the first operating system? So much talk of Canonical and Ubuntu. Let us tell us which was the first operating system. Is it option A, DOS? Is it option B, QDOS? Is it C, Windows? Or D, General Motors NAA? The world's first operating system. There is a lot of history when it comes to computing. This is only the beginning, trust me. Which is the world's first operating system? Although it does seem a lot of people know the answer considering how quickly we got some answers. Okay, yeah, most of the people were right, which is 12 people answered, which is General Motors NAA. So many know IBM for manufacturing and selling computers with an operating system back in the 70s, but General Motors actually came up with the operating system before IBM. The first operating system used for real work was GM-NAA-IO, produced in 1956 by General Motors Research Division for its IBM 704. Customers also produced most of the early operating systems for IBM mainframes directly. So General Motors gets the credit for the world's first operating system. No change in the leaderboard as we move to our final question, question number 30. Let's see if this causes an upset on the top 3 leaderboard. Which operating system was the first to originate among the following? Was it A, Windows, or B, Linux? Pretty straightforward question with a relatively simple answer as well. Did Windows come first or Linux? Final question, guys. Ten more seconds. Okay, it's as close as could have gotten, with 10 people answering Windows and 11 going for Linux. See, most of you have got confused Unix with Linux and guessed it might be Linux. But in reality, Windows originated in 1985, while Linux originated in 1991. Unix originated before any other operating system, and it's a different ball game together, but it is not directly correlated to Linux. So with that, I believe we have reached the end of our quiz with the end of 30 questions. Let's see the leaderboard. Somehow, Anmol has still managed to keep his first position even though he was not able to answer the last question. So congratulations to Anmol, Yeesnuts and Murli for being the top 3 scorers in this quiz. Please send your screenshots to YouTube contest@simplilearn.net to receive your Amazon vouchers. Thank you for everyone who took part in this quiz and spend your time with us. We keep having these quizzes on different technologies every now and then. Please follow us on our social handles and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated since we have the community post way before we start the quizzes, so you can stay updated and be there during the start of the quiz to take part. Thank you so much for your time. Stay safe.